Coach, hey, thanks for joining me today on this SimpleCoach coach interview. Appreciate you taking the time from Roanoke, Virginia. Got my Roanoke hat on, scarf hanging, and the maroon lights going. So I am blending. So thanks for taking the time today.
No problem. Looking forward to having a talk.
So, doing my research, I mean, you've been doing this for a while, right? Like, it's like a quarter decade-ish plus minus. Can you just talk about your experience and how you ended up at Roanoke, and maybe even better, why Roanoke? Why just stay at Roanoke for as long as you have?
Yeah, I mean, I graduated from Wittenberg in 1986, and market was pretty much down, and I'd played, soccer in high school and a little bit at Wittenberg, and then was looking for something to do, and they had just started the program with here under Bob Hartman, and he was the sports information director, so he didn't really know too much about soccer, so he asked me to help him, and really liked the coaching, and kind of took off from there.
Mm-hmm. So you didn't really, did you have a design to become a coach or no?
No, it was kind of Forrest Gump-esque, kind of just walked into it, and went from 1 year helping him, and then spent a year up at Alfred University getting my master's as a GA under Steve Allison, and spent a year there, and then came back in '88, helped Scott Allison here with the men's program, and then started in '89 in my current job, which has changed tremendously since then.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure it's been that way. Hey, I'm curious from your perspective, and have you seen improve, especially in light of the women's game, and everybody's got an opinion about the national team and the World Cup, and I'm just curious, have you seen players get better, or yeah?
Overall, just the training that they're getting in the clubs over time. There's tons of schools where all these players can go to, so there are more players. I think back when I started, there were more elite players, more really good players that I could get. That might land at Roanoke back then. Now the competition and recruiting's so tremendous that we're all fighting for the best player. But over time, definitely the training and the progression of the sport has been unbelievable.
Because I'm just curious, right? Like, everyone's talking about the women. Funny, it's the women lose or get knocked out, and then suddenly everybody's, hey, what's wrong, which is typical, right? Like, I forget all the other wins they had, but maybe can you talk a little bit about the ODAC and some of the teams you face, and what's that like?
I just start off. It hasn't gotten any easier over time. The league, the Lynchburg, Virginia Wesleyan, Washington and Lee, Bridgewater, Randolph-Macon. I don't want to leave anyone out, but you got to come to play day in, day out in the league, and Guilford's coming on strong. So it's Shenandoah. Gosh, it's just it's a battle.
Yeah. Do you over the years, do you think it's gotten better? I know in a lot of leagues when actually we were playing, I think you graduated in '86, I graduated in '90. I think there was a lot of the conferences, they had a top couple teams and then everybody else. I mean, have you noticed, has that shifted over time for you?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, over time, in my in my first few years, it was Randolph, Macon, and us, and then as teams and ODAC schools started putting more resources into athletics, they started to creep. Lynchburg came on, and then just kind of grew over time in the conference. So yeah,
Yeah.
in the beginning, yeah, one, two, three, maybe three strong teams in the conference, and
Hmm.
probably going all over the country. And Jack,
Yeah, yeah,
back to the old Dixie Conference, which is now USA South. Methodist was rolling back in the beginning
yeah,
years, and North Carolina Wesleyan. So yeah.
yeah. Um, I'm just curious. What's your recruiting footprint like? Where do you recruit from primarily?
Roanoke, we're all over the East Coast. We try to find different areas to find players. Midwest, Florida, Georgia. You know, um, so I think as our academic reputation is spread, it makes it easier for us to recruit. Out of the Mid Atlantic.
Hmm.
Um, so you know, Virginia, we want to try to get the best players we can out of Virginia, but
Yeah,
it's tough. You got to get past Christopher Newport, the state
yeah,
schools, and Mary Washington, and then in our own conference, going head to head with the Lynchburg or Virginia
yeah,
Wesleyan is also tough.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. I would think like the further your footprint out, the further you go, the less likely you are to cross paths with those schools, right? That are right, what Washington and Lee, right down the road from you,
Right.
relatively right down the road. Actually, I know one of your players, outstanding ball player, Cameron Shackford. We go. I, my son and her brother used to hang out and went to school together in Jersey, and I know Julie and
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So
Yep.
what? Yeah, let me ask, like, yeah, do you find your role as the head coach has changed too? Like, what the sort of things you deal with players that is it? Do you have to be a lot more hands on or hands off nowadays?
No, I would think you got to be more hands on. You know, be the door open. It's always been that way. Come into the
Mm-hmm.
office and talk to me. But um, I think in the beginning, in the early days, kids just showed up and played, and
Yeah.
weren't worried about all the other things.
Mm-hmm.
The strength training, the GPSs, and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. So I think it's just got a little more complicated, and
Yeah.
the kids, as time has progressed, as we talked about earlier, they've been through great training in the
Yeah.
clubs, and so they have more questions and more insights in a good way. And
Yeah.
then, since the pandemic, I think there's always that buzzword, the mental health
Mm-hmm.
of kids. So that's another area where we really gotta, you see more conversations coming out in that sense.
Mm-hmm. How do you? I'm just curious. How is there a way you track sort of how your players are doing, or is it literally like I'm going to check in with you every week, or I don't know, every 2 weeks?
Typically, face to face, I'll keep tabs with the freshmen
Mm-hmm.
as our first year players as much as possible. Make sure the transition's going well, and also that have the we'll check in on the older players. We usually meet face to face in the beginning of the season, postseason, and if we have to call people in between, we'll do that. We do have, with technology, which is tied to what's called a readiness app. So every morning they got, you know, whether it's they got picture of their body. They can click their quad if the quad's hurting. So now our training staff can see that. If they make their quad red, it's really in trouble. So now the training staff has been alerting it, and there's also a mood portion to that. So if, the mood really drops, then that starts sending off some bells, and we'll most likely have a conversation, whether at practice or what have you, just check in.
Was that? Have you been doing that for a while, or do you think that was an outcome of COVID?
I mean, the app that we have, it's kind of it comes with our GPS tracking system, and kind of just fell into it. It wasn't by design in any way.
All right. So I do have to ask you, what? I mean, how big of a deal is like team culture for you? It sounds like you're really, keeping tabs on the players to bring them closer into the program. I mean, is that something you focus in on, or?
Yeah, it's. I mean, the culture is paramount, really. We do a foreign trip every 3 years right before preseason. That's kind of big bonding, big bonding trip, really. And then, even during preseason, we'll take a day off and, do some bowling or, go up to Mountain Lake, stay the night, and get away from soccer and get to know each other outside of the soccer arena. So yeah, I mean, the culture is, we like strong academics. We like kids that work hard on their own, and that all kind of feeds into itself.
But shifting over to the soccer part, I know you didn't have any ties, but I'm just curious how you fall on the overtime, no overtime debate.
One time through, looking at it, logistically, when you're on the road, you play a 7 o'clock game. You're not going into and past 9 o'clock. The game's going to be over. The food can show up on time. You get on the road, and so that part I like about it. I've kind of approached the game. Are we really playing for a tie?
Yeah.
I don't like that aspect of it, but we're going to have ties anyway, whether you're playing 2 overtimes or not. I've seen it all from golden goal, play each overtime out. So yeah.
Do you think it's changed how coaches coach?
I think across the board. I think if people can play for a tie, I think and there seems to be a mismatch with the teams. Why not go sit in and but would you do that anyway?
Yeah. That's the rub. I definitely think the last 20 minutes, probably all your variables change because you only got 20 minutes. Whether you're the upper hand, lower hand, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just that thought, like, we just have 20 minutes left. It's not gonna be anything to get us out of this unless we can figure it out, right? What talk to me about your season. What is how do you think about how it went for you? I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, this past season, just right around 500, and it's kind of not where we want to be. So we were super young. I would start 4 or 5 freshmen here, depending on the game, and so we beat the teams we should have beat, and the tight games, we came out on the losing end more often than not. But I was able to play, probably more people than I have ever played, more players than I ever played, gone a little deeper. But yeah, so I'm hoping for a better season coming up. We got a great group of freshmen coming in, and like I said, we were super young last year, and so we're kind of building and looking towards the future.
Yeah. Is that I mean, was there anything that that sort of pushed you to to be so young? Is this one of those, like, again, sort of hate to blame COVID for anything, but is that the result of sort of how things played out for you over from COVID?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it all on COVID, but I think that was a factor. Kids just kind of fell out of love with the sport, so we
Mm-hmm.
lost a handful that way. A couple. Every year you're going to have a little attrition for one reason or another. Go closer to home,
Mm-hmm.
change their major. So we
Mm-hmm.
had a little bit of that. So you put all that together, it just took away kind of the upper class
Mm-hmm.
in our program over the last 2 years. So hence, last year we were starting a lot of freshmen and but excited for the future. Is going to be much more competitive on
Yeah.
trying to get on the field this coming fall, and that's only going to make us better in those tight games going forward.
You definitely are young. That's I'm just looking at it. I mean, you had a handful of seniors, a couple juniors, and then the rest sophomores. And I mean, you're definitely on the younger side. Talk to me about your incoming class. What does that look like? Types of players. I mean, are you literally looking at them to be like, look, there's nothing holding you back from getting significant time.
You know, um, and the way, and I've communicated this to my team, and we'll communicate it next week when we have our opening meeting. You know, we do have 11 freshmen coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, two are coming in with ACLs already, so they're probably red shirts. So that leaves us with nine healthy freshmen coming in. Two of them, which are goalkeepers, and excited about those two. And then the seven field players. As I said, my message, beginning of the season starting line, and
Mm-hmm.
whether you played where you're a senior captain, you played 80 minutes last year. It's a new year,
Mm-hmm.
and things could change, and your role can change. So um, I think it's going to be, there's going to be opportunity for freshmen to make an impact. As I think there is any year. My numbers are up. We have 33 coming into preseason healthy. Um, so that's almost up to pre-pandemic numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Typically that we would have around 30, uh,
Mm-hmm.
30 players. So kind of that depth that we're going to have that really kind of hurt us in the past couple of years
Mm-hmm.
is going to be there. So I think it's just going to make us more and more competitive and give us more
Mm-hmm.
options. Coming off the bench.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Were you trying to fill any, like, were you trying to fill any particular spots with this class? Was there things that, like, were we need, I don't know, we need goalkeepers, we need a right back. Was that the sort of thing you were looking for, or?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hit it on the head. We graduated six seniors past year. We one of them a goalkeeper, two outside backs. So I mean, I think you you hit on the head what we
Mm-hmm.
were looking for really to solidify our back line and give that some more depth and also give the goalkeepers. Um, we it's really hard to get two goalkeepers in one class, and we
Mm-hmm.
were fortunate enough to get that. So with four goalkeepers on the roster, it just gives you, that so much more you can do in practices,
Yeah,
and so we were excited to do that. And then after that's really we're looking for athletes and that can hopefully play multiple positions. They're not,
Mm-hmm.
pegged into a center back or a holding midfielder. That's all they can do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we were looking for out of this class.
I'm just curious, how is it that you like to play? Like, if you could describe how you snap your fingers and this is the ideal way we play.
Yeah, I mean, we're not super direct. We have some speed up top, so I tell them, hey, let's go forward. If it's on, let's get it forward. If not, if that's not the proper decision, let's hold on to it and wait for something else to develop. If we got three players, we typically play the 4-3-3. If we try to hit that target central player and run off of that, and hopefully it can make the proper decisions and lay it back,
Yeah.
and then we can go forward, or lay it back and then go side to side a little bit. So
Uh-huh.
it's all about decision making in the proper time. So I think if you watched our games, we're going to try to play the best soccer we can,
Mm-hmm.
and not turn into a sprinting match up and down the field.
Hi, that's so fun to watch. No, just kidding. What I mean, do you foresee any challenges coming up this season
I
aside
think,
from the 18 or 15 teams that you have to play that have a
yeah,
target on your back?
yeah, but yeah. Besides the conference, we got Christopher Newport also. Looking at we try to keep that schedule as tough as we can. Um, for me, it's just going to be formulating, get that team formulated in preseason, and making sure they're on board with what needs to be done as an individual and their role in the team, and going forward. So, and that's something you deal with every year.
Mm-hmm.
Preseason is huge um, in developing what how you're going to play, your alignment. Um, Looking through the schedule, usually I'm an old coach, and there's usually something that comes out of the
Yeah.
blind side that hits you, that you end up dealing with, and hopefully those are whether it's injuries or what have you. So there's always something that's it's not going to be a perfect season. That's why I tell my players there's going to be some rocky points, but that's where we got to persevere and
Yeah.
pick up. And great thing about sports, you always got another
Yeah.
opportunity, unless it's
Well,
your last game to do
yeah.
better. So yeah.
I, I mean, you are. Well, first of all, trip to it looks like what, Denison and Capital to start. I mean, talk about a interesting, fun start to your season, right?
Yeah, that you might. You might be on the men's
Oh,
schedule
that's
there.
the men's. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
not a problem. Yeah, we open up. We have our tournament.
Oh yeah,
University
yeah.
of
Penn State,
Lynchburg comes to that,
Harrisburg, Grove City. Yeah, yeah,
and PS Penn State Harrisburg and Grove
yeah.
City. So
Oh
uh,
yeah. Now I'm
yeah,
seeing it.
taking on them, and then we make the trip down to Piedmont
Oh
the
yeah,
next weekend. Yeah.
yeah. Wow. And you quite possibly wait until October 21st to play Christopher Newport when they're just, I mean, in their mind, they're probably like peaking. So, not, yeah, you're going to have a fun, that's going to be you got an interesting schedule.
Yeah, by then, yeah, October 21st, we should know a lot about ourselves by then.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'm curious. Like, what's your thinking around your schedule? Obviously, the ODAC is the ODAC, so you can't really do much. But your out of conference schedule. What do you have a rhyme or reason for it? Or are you just looking for the best teams you can play?
That's going back, you try to, I think it was Steve Allison when he was at Alfred, kind of said, you want to play a third of the teams that that you can beat a third of the teams that might be a toss-up, and a third of the teams that you know could be a W, or
Yeah.
could be a loss. So
Yeah.
try to keep that schedule balanced. I think we're finishing up some home and home with some
Mm-hmm.
teams. So we'll be looking to make some changes going forward. In 24, 25.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a balance. Trying to get that strength of schedule. We
Yeah.
get that out of the conference pretty well,
Yeah.
the SOS. And then after that, it's the balance of keeping that strength schedule up high, but again getting the wins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so you at the end of the day, you want to win the conference, but if you can't win the conference, you want to be in position
Yeah.
to get that at
At
large.
least get looked at, right? Like, and then hopefully you get that at large. Yeah, I'm always curious about that because yeah, you can. I always say you can make your schedule as hard as possible, but if you're not winning, it doesn't, right? So I always wonder about that, sort of those minor adjustments.
And
Um,
to be honest, it's gotten harder and harder to schedule.
yeah,
I don't think teams want to travel as much
yeah,
as they used to.
mm-hmm,
Whether it's budgetary or what have you.
mm-hmm.
So that's always you try for the good balance, but might not end up that way.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Like, I would suspect. Yeah, you're right. Like, I wonder if it's again goes. I mean, especially with all that talk about what is it, the Big Ten and the conference, the jump, Utah and whoever it was jumping ship, and now they're talking the mental health comments you made earlier. I wonder if some of that is just sort of like, yeah, we're not going to go very far to play, and if they do that, right, if teams just start deciding not to travel, or that probably makes it difficult to schedule. Right?
Yeah,
And
for us, we're a little bit of an outlier. We
mm-hmm,
got if we got to travel if we're
yeah,
gonna go play a college in New Jersey or at
yeah,
Emory. We're not surrounded. Outside the conference, we're not surrounded by
yeah,
tons of schools.
yeah, yeah. It's funny because I know a coach who basically has a circle on a map. It's 2 hours drive in any direction, and has all the schools, and says that's who I'm playing, and I'm not going further like that. I think that's an interesting approach. But hey, last question for you. I'm curious. Do you have any goals that you could share about the fall? What you hope to accomplish? What you hope your team does?
Ideally, I mean, we talk about trying to be in the hunt for the top four of the conference. Get that
Mm-hmm.
first round home game. That's something that we have every year. And I tell my players like the World Cup, anything can happen once you get to the
Yeah.
tournament, to the knockout stage, in the ODAC tournament. And then you know, ideally, get that NCAA tournament bid, which is always a goal for us. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, um, for me, and then just taking a step forward,
Mm-hmm.
and continue to build. And we want it to happen right away in this day and age, but sometimes it takes a little time.
Yeah.
And looking at Virginia Wesleyan in our conference, they last year, that could they have dreamed of making to the Final Four and
Yeah.
making that run that they have? So anything's possible.
Yeah. I see you don't play them this year. You don't.
Yeah, that's that balanced schedule
Yeah, the
that we
ODAC.
play.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I
And
said, you
actually,
guys are weird. I mean, like every conference has its own things, but I know the ODAC, right? You don't play everybody because it's so large. Anyhow, Coach, really do appreciate you taking the time today. This was great. I'm a big fan of Roanoke. Having been down there, I was down there on our way to a tournament We stopped by when the men's finals were there and walked around camp. Beautiful place and great facilities. Love the stadium there. I mean, can't find a better place, the mountains in the background. So, but want to thank you for the time and appreciate it.
No problem. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll talk again.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, most definitely. I pester really well. So, all right, Coach.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
One of those tools and a great starting point is to check out Discover College Soccer Study Table. Now, I've interviewed Matt Baer, who's the founder of Discover College Soccer, before. Really great guy. And you've probably seen his podcast. I've referred to it and recommend anybody to go to check out his interviews with coaches at all levels. That is specifically designed to talk about the recruiting process and the different college programs. He's not talking about them himself. He's letting the coaches speak. So with all of that information that he's gathered, he's put together this study table that is a program to help you with your recruiting process that's complete with video course on the recruiting process from start to finish. He has these that are updated spreadsheets that are updated monthly, with contact information and details about every program in the country. That alone is worth its weight in salt. He has a bunch of other resources, email templates, checklists to help you guide you through your own process. Now, the best part is, whereas you can pay thousands of dollars to some of these recruiting services, you can get a lifetime subscription to the study table for less than one night in a tournament hotel. The best part of it is that Matt has his own soccer experience. He's a former college player and college coach. He's talked to over 150 coaches in just the last year, and he has some great insights and has created something that I think is probably very, very useful to a lot of you, and best of all, you get to save time and save money. Now look, I don't recommend people that I don't know or I haven't come to know. I've talked to Matt, as I mentioned, on a number of occasions, and he's probably has the most insightful and, I'll just say, thorough understandings of the recruiting process. Not because he's made it up, but because he's asked coaches across the college game. And he's taken all of that, figured out what the best recommendations from all of those discussions that he has, and put that together into the study table. So if you don't want to spend thousands on recruiting, on a recruiting service, and you have the mind to do it yourself, the Discover College Soccer Study Table is for you. So in the description, you can find a link that will get you 20% off on a lifetime subscription. Or if you go to discovercollegesoccer.com, click on the study table to register and use the discount code SIMPLE, you get to save 20% on your subscription. So with that, good luck.